Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Holly confesses guilt to save Tate. Eric's pressure leads to major turning point. Days of Our Lives, DOL. Spoilers reveal that Holly Jonas, Ashley Puzimis, CAN keep sitting on the Verity ever. DOL suckers know Holly has been reticent to come clean about scoring the medicines that caused her coma, but Tate Black, Jamie Martin Man, is suffering as a result. Eric Brady, Greg Vaughn, formerly picked up on the fact that Holly might be bothered about getting in trouble. Holly was playing with her hair during their last discussion, which Eric recalled as a sign of unease from when she was little. During the week of March 18th to 22nd, Days spoilers say Eric will pick up on some other warning signs when it comes to Holly's secretiveness. It'll come decreasingly egregious to Eric that Holly is telling the entire Verity regarding Tate and what she remembers. Maybe Eric will have another one-on-one discussion with Holly and see what he can find out. Eric might flat out ask Holly if she's the bone who scored the medicines, so will Holly admit it once she's facing her former stepdad's pressure? Grounded on what Days observers have seen, Holly cares about Eric and still trusts him as a maternal figure in her life. Eric may move Holly that concession is good for the soul and get her to open up about what she's dealing with. Perhaps Holly will admit that the real reason she doesn't want to come clean involves Nicole DiMera's, Ariane Zucker, disappointment. Holly eavesdropped Nicole acting like she'd be a failure of a mama if it turned out the medicines belonged to Holly that night. Of course, Eric might argue that Nicole wouldn't want Tate to suffer if he's innocent, especially if it's just to cover her passions. There's nothing Holly could say or do that would make Nicole stop loving her, so Eric may point that out, too. On the other hand, Days could swing the story in a little different direction if Eric simply takes his reservations to Nicole and urges her to defy Holly rather. It might indeed be commodity Eric and Nicole could do together. Another possibility might be if Eric applies a bit more pressure and Holly eventually lets the Verity pour out at Jude Brady's christening event. There might be some situation where Holly just can't take it presently and blurts out her concession within followership thanks to the party that'll be passing. Nethermost line, there must be a reason why Eric's reservations are growing, so it sounds like he'll play a big part in getting Holly to confess sooner or laterally. Days of Our Lives spoilers say EJ DiMera, Dan Feuerriegel, will get updates on some huge news once Holly eventually spills. Maggie's trap gets worse, Jude's big day, Clyde's indicting info. Days of Our Lives, DOL, spoilers for Thursday, March 14th, reveal that Harris Michaels, Steve Burton, will get an affable wake-up call when he opens his eyes and finds Ava Vitale, Tamara Braun, playing nanny. Ava offered to take care of Harris since he's still recovering, so he went home to continue his recovery in her bed. There'll be some lovey-dovey moments on Thursday's DOL occasion as Ava and Harris appreciate this time together. Over with John Black, Drake Hodgson, and Marlena Evans, Deidre Hall. Days spoilers say they'll visit the cantina and meet up with Eric Brady, Greg Vaughn, to bandy Jude Brady's big day. Jude's christening is coming up, so Eric will go over all the arrangements with Marlena and John. That should bring the news that Nicole DiMera, Ariane Zucker, has offered to host the event, so Marlena and John may wonder how Sloan Peterson Brady, Natasha Hall, really feels about that. At some point, Days spoilers say John will reconvene with Ava and Steve Johnson, Stephen Nichols, so they'll pound over Clyde Weston's, James Reed, escape and their enterprises about it. Clyde is an imminence to society and could fluently launch another round of trouble, so it's parlous for him to be on the run. At the same time, Ava, John and Steve will worry about Clyde pointing the cutlet at them for helping him escape if he gets caught. Other Days spoilers say Maggie Kyriakis, Suzanne Rogers, will sink further into the trap Constantine Meliunis, John Capellos, is setting for her. This con man will pull Maggie indeed closer, so we'll bring you prognostications on just how far Constantine will go to get his hands on her Kyriakis plutocrat. Days of Our Lives spoilers say Maggie will find herself decreasingly smitten with Constantine, so he should feel like he's duping her on a whole different position. The further Constantine turns on the charm, the harder Maggie will fall. Constantine will do his stylish to scheme his way into Maggie's heritage, so stick with us for any marriage updates that might be brewing down the road. Maggie betrays Victor, Eric confesses Sloane's baby jealousy. Days of Our Lives, DOL, spoilers recap for Thursday, March 14th, reveals that Ava Vitale, Tamara Braun, brought Harris Michaels, Steve Burton, breakfast in bed and flirted with him as he continued his recovery. Harris suspected that Stephen DiMera, Brandon Barish, might be played a part in Clyde Weston's, James Reed, escape, but Ava wondered why he'd supposed that and nixed the idea. Steve Johnson, Stephen Nichols, called Ava to demand a meeting, so she fibbed to Harris about heading to the sanitarium and left him on his own for a while. Although Harris wanted to trust Ava, he intimately upset since he could tell she was over to commodity. Harris also tried to get Stephen on the phone and reached his voicemail, so he made it clear that Stephen would ain't like what happened coming if he didn't get back in touch and cooperate. At the townhouse on Thursday's day's occasion, John Black, Drake Hodgson, sounded tired and distracted, so he admitted to Marlena Evans, Deidre Hall, that his agonies were getting worse. John didn't want to talk about it and assured Marlena that he was fine to have breakfast with Eric Brady, Greg Vaughn, as planned. At the cantina. On Thursday's DOL show, Eric sat down with John, Marlena and Roman Brady, Josh Taylor, to bandy Jude Brady's christening and all the cautions in Salem recently. Steve ultimately showed up to pull John down for a meeting at Black Patch, so they left together. Back with Eric, he gave Roman updates on Sloane Peterson Brady, temporarily played by Natasha Hall, getting plastered at the small regale party Marlena attended. Eric conceded that Sloane got jealous of the baby occasionally and said perhaps he was a bit hung up with Jude Brady. Roman offered to babysit so that Eric and Sloane could have a night out. At Black Patch on Thursday's day's occasion, Steve and John put Ava on full blast for botching their plan, but she argued that they twice crossed her first. Ava just went back to the original plan, so she defended how she handled Clyde since delivering Trip Johnson, Lucas Adams, was her precedence. John claimed they had to make this right since he didn't like being responsible for a sociopath like Clyde being on the loose. Ava said they'd each done effects in their histories that they weren't proud of, so John sounded affected by that comment and dwelled on his own history. Once Steve and Ava left, they talked effects out a bit more in the city forecourt and agreed to differ regarding how she dealt with Clyde. Ava also wondered what was over with John since he was acting so strange. The city forecourt was also where Julie Williams, Susan Seaforth Hayes, caught up with Eli Grant, Lamont Archie, so they bandied all the sanitarium cautions and Eli's creation, which would mean a lot further transnational trip. Julie wished Eli, Lonnie Grant, Sal Stowers, and the Halves could stay in Salem, but she was proud of Eli and pleased over his happiness. At the Kiriakis' manse on Thursday's day's occasion, Constantine Meliunis, John Capellos, talked to Maggie Kiriakis, Suzanne Rogers, about all the kiddies in the house recently and admitted he would like to have been a forefather. That led to Constantine and Maggie relating over their departed children. Constantine also reflected on Maggie's red hair and wondered if she was Irish, but Maggie didn't know and suggested perhaps a DNA test could help with that. There was also a moment when Maggie held Constantine's hand, so she expressed appreciation for the ways he touched her life. Indeed so, Maggie couldn't help but feel shamefaced for getting near to another man after Victor Kiriakis, John Aniston, demise. Constantine felt confident that Victor would want Maggie to continue feeling cherished. Julie came back to the manse with Eli and urged him to spread the good news about his creation. Constantine acted like Eli was emotional, but he sounded a little on edge over interacting with an FBI agent. After Eli said his farewells to Julie, she turned her attention to Maggie for a private discussion. Maggie confessed her guilt over feeling drawn to Constantine, but Julie comforted her. Once Steve met up with Marlena outside the cantina. He admitted they demanded to have a private discussion and sounded concerned about John. Back at Black Patch, John summoned Constantine and admitted he felt like he'd been put through a willowa ever since their commerce in the domain. Although John asked what Constantine did to him, Constantine claimed it was a matter of what John did to him rather.